What does tech, marketing, AI, and the progress of 2024 have to do with Barbie, of all things? Well, I have Raj here today, and he's going to tell us a little bit about himself, why this matters to him, and why it should matter to you. Raj, welcome to the show. Thank you for coming, and welcome to the show.
Thank you, Shauna. Good to be here, and yeah, certainly see the conversation about Barbie. We were talking about before we began the show today about Barbie. But would it be helpful to introduce myself first and tell you who I am and why Barbie might be relevant to our chat today?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So my name is Raj Goodman Anand. I'm the founder of Goodman Anand. I'm the CEO. This is my third business. In the past, I've started a business which went up and then down. One I sold, and this is my third company. Taken company before from zero to acquisition. I've helped kind of do all these different wonderful things. But a big part of my business ventures has been having a mission. This company, especially, our mission is to empower women in technology and marketing. I have a 3 years old daughter, and I want to make sure that the world she grows up in is a fair world where everybody has the same opportunity. I mean, from very humble beginnings myself, I feel like I've got to do something to make the world a better place and put my money where my mouth is and actually make a change. And so Goodman Lantern is dedicated to make a change for women. And I think the reason why we talked about Barbie early on was because in the movie Barbie, which I preferred to Oppenheimer, which is bizarre because I did a PhD in AI and I should be more tech focused, and Oppenheimer is all about geekiness and nerdiness. But actually, the movie Barbie represents a change in where there is a discussion about women empowerment and having a different way we view women in the society we live in, economy we're part of, and overall, this is a fundamental change to minds how we think about everybody. So I thought that movie was phenomenal. I hope that the more movies like Barbie coming out where we paint women in a different picture and give them equal opportunities to choose what they want to do. So they choose what they want to do. No one prescribes to them what they should be following as a path.
I absolutely love that. And also the thing that when we were first kind of talking about this, because I asked just to let everyone know, I wanted to make sure I watched Barbie for the first time yesterday, so it's fresh. I'm like, yeah, this is really great. And I said, oh man, Raj, what do you think? What do you think about Barbie and AI? What do you think about this conversation? Because I was a little nervous because this has got a lot of tumultuous controversy behind it, this movie. Um, but I was thinking about how Barbie comes into the real world looking for some empowerment, looking for some women to really show up for her and with her to give her encouragement. So she goes to the construction site. Now, of course, we know here in the real world, we don't see many women in that space. And so, too, can we say that we don't see as many women in the boardrooms, in the marketing executive suites, or in the tech and AI industries? And so, what you're saying is really pertinent and really important to see and advocate for and really create actionable change within the world in that trajectory. So, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about how we can do that moving into 2024, how you particularly are doing that, and what you see in the world when it comes to taking advantage of AI and this advocacy together. Um, just to let's ideate. Let's see, what does this look like to you as we move forward?
Yeah, phenomenal question. I must say multiple questions packed into one, but I'll
Yeah.
do my best to tackle them together. Um, so the coming years are going to be a major shift from what we know. Our roles, Shauna, like we know today, are going to change dramatically. The big factor in there is AI. So let me kind of go back to the time. when something like this happened before, which that was the Industrial Revolution, where people went from small cities and towns and villages to major cities, massive factories to work from there. They left their maybe sort of more sort of hand-based work, maybe working in the farms or getting the goods, for example, to working in the factory where big machines took over everything. But now what we have is the reverse of that. The big machines are now what we let's say for argument's sake, it's in the cloud, or it's basically remote, which
Mhm.
allows us to then move back to a place which is far away from the city and live our own lives and actually be able to use and harness the power of AI as in real intelligence, the brain in a computer, and then be able to use that to take care of major tasks. This could be work, could be personal requirements, family requirements, but that also means that a lot of the things we currently do for living will change. I often talk about this in my talks that if you're a consultant, if you are a expert in a particular area, soon a big part of that will be done by AI and we'll be the figurehead looking at that space and maybe just kind of editing it or analyzing it a little bit before it goes out. But a lot of the hard work, a lot of the heavy lifting will be done by AI. And that also implies that we're going to have a change of empowerment as well. Now, suddenly across the world, anybody can do anything. You don't have to be a native English speaker. You don't have to be based in London to actually make the change happen. You could
Mm.
be based in a small little village in the suburbs of Bangladesh and make a huge change to the economy in the UK, in the US, for example. And that's only possible because we are shifting. We're going through a major change in the economy thanks to AI. And that will impact everything from roles across in smaller cities, towns, to women's roles, for example. People who could not before participate in the economy will now start to participate as well. So we can expect a major shift in the next 3 to 5 years.
It's a little bit mind blowing because we're seeing, you're saying there's going to be a major shift in the next 2 to 5 years with the evolution of AI, with the AI generation that we're coming into. And yet in the last, what, less than less than 4 years, we've already seen quite a big change. So we're going to see that shift on scale, is what you're saying.
100%, yeah. I mean, this is why if you read the tweets from Elon Musk, he often says, "I have sleepless nights because of AI. I feel like there's going to be a major change. There's been a lot of challenges at OpenAI, which is a parent company of ChatGPT, about certain thing called Q-star. No one knows what that really is, but some of the people predict or guess that there is what we call AGI, artificial general intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
which basically means that we can now mimic a human being intelligence in computer, pretty much that of a graduate level person, and that is scary. Suddenly, we can do a lot more. It's going to shift everything we know, and I'm sure you have seen talks about talks about having a universal basic income for people or UBI because soon we won't require to work. And I say soon, still not going to happen tomorrow. It's still years away, but still it's going to happen at some point. And then we have a different role as we play as human beings, and that role is to be defined still.
That is quite scary, actually, because a few things come up for me, and I'd love for you to play a little bit of cat and mouse with me, because this is telling me that, okay, so we may not need to work in I'm not sure how long. As you say, it's in we don't know how that's going to evolve. But that's like such a serious societal shift. And I'm going to maybe naively say that that's across the board globally. That like are the leaders going to, because we see a lot of people moving and advocating for that base, the universal, what did you, sorry, I lost the words.
Basic income, universal basic income. Yeah.
Universal basic income, correct. So people are already advocating for that, and it's getting shot down in flames in a lot of spaces. I have to say that I'm a pretty big advocate for it, because there are a lot of people who are doing massive amounts of work. Myself, having been a stay-at-home mom with no pay, I get it. I understand why it's there, and I would love for it to happen, but it constantly gets shot down in flames. So what would you say then needs to shift? Because at the beginning of our conversation, we're talking about feminism and egalitarianism and making sure that we're creating this equal space. What needs to shift in the mindset of humanity, truly? Because I don't know very many cultures that really elevate, in particular, women or other marginalized communities. What needs to shift to make sure that they're actually going to be okay with that? This general wage, because of the emergence of AI. I mean, I just, call me a pessimist, but I can see it going bad quickly.
I agree, and I think that is the biggest challenge, is that at the moment we're not ready to accept that this is happening. But because my core business is content creation and we do this at scale across the globe, we've already seen the impact of what AI can do on content, for example.
Right.
Now, it can't do content to the same level as an expert. There are certain elements which it can't do. You still need a really well versed editor for everything which kind of comes out. But a lot of the heavy lifting, like research part, can be done through AI.
Mm-hmm.
All you need to do is to fast track that current evolution of AI in the last 1 year and figure out that this exponential change is going to be rapid. And our politicians, our leaders need to understand that this will impact everybody in every sector: manufacturing, telecom, finance, cybersecurity, you name it, it's going to impact everything. There was a movie I saw recently, which I would say I can't remember what the name of the movie is called. So Netflix, I was watching it. I just watched it because my wife was watching it. I just kind of joined halfway through. It was about the future evolution where there's a cyber attack on the world and everything else. And I was thinking to myself, that's so possible. We rely on everything digital, and it's possible that we can hack the whole entire system and we can be in trouble. But the other flip side also is that as this is a powerful technology, it also empowers a lot of people as well. It allows a plain level field to people to be able to choose what they want to do. Suddenly, it's not about where you're based or what is your qualification. It is about how resourceful you are, which matters. So, in fact, having a science degree or a double PhD will not really matter anymore because you have the same intelligence at hand as anybody else. I mean, recently my dad has not been feeling well, and so his medical reports which come out. Earlier, I had no idea what to do with the reports. I mean, I get all these different numbers in a report, and I was like, okay, what should I do with this now? But now I can just take that image itself, put it into a chat GPT or AI, and ask it to give me a breakdown on, make me for example, the prompt is, make me a table to explain this in layman terms and list out what's the most scariest bits of the report and what I should be focused on. So as a layman, I can understand now what the doctors are looking at as well. And before there was a challenge happening to his health, I could predict that this is going to be challenged maybe tomorrow. So we should think about this for his health and for his well-being. So it is a scary world when a person doesn't have any clue about medical sciences, can understand the reports. It is scary.
That's interesting too, though, because I did lead. You're absolutely right. I did lead with kind of I was fearful. You explained something to me that it shook my world. I was, oh, okay. This sounds like societal collapse. But now that you're saying that, it's. I mean, listen. I may be going out on a limb here, but I do that a lot. Is this like also a step towards dismantling capitalism, in such that, and hear me out. I know that was a big statement. So you're saying that a PhD, a double PhD, some sort of, these degrees are not going to matter. The people who are having access to these degrees typically are people who have some sort of leverage in this world, right? There are a variety of things that impact whether or not you have access to that. And your intelligence is not one of them. Your ability, your capacity to learn and to execute on whatever it is you want to study is not one of them, at least in this Western world. In many other places it's different, but in the Western world I'm seeing this as like, if your PhD isn't going to matter so much, then do we need to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for the pretty piece of paper? Maybe not. So there is that silver lining, there is that flip side to AI in life and in business. Am I crazy
Yeah,
for saying that, Raj?
no, not at all, not at all. I mean, I would not comment on capitalism's end, but what I'll say is in that framework itself, not a, it's a level field.
Hmm.
Anyone can go and do it. It is in many ways going back to the world where we didn't worry about a degree from a prestigious university to get a job. At some point, say 300 years back, for example, you were not looking at a degree from Cambridge or Oxford to kind of get a job which is paying you more because you would just learn what you learn from your society, your parents, your neighbors, and you just did that, for example, or you learned on the job.
Looks like it's time for my kids to go to bed.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is definitely a shift in the playing field, which incidentally brings us back to Barbie, which I love because this is all about looking inward, regardless of who you are, where you're coming from, what your gender is, any of these things, and just figuring out, what am I capable of, and playing in that space. What am I capable of? And I'm gonna take that idea and kind of take us on a different path, because your expertise in this field here is about content marketing with regards to business growth. And so if we're looking inward, if we're now able to outsource or utilize AI tools and things like that in a way that levels out the playing field, and yet we're still, as entrepreneurs and business owners, expected to use content to grow our business, what are your thoughts on that? Because you can imagine there are multiple good and maybe not so good things that come into mind for the entrepreneurs looking at the future in this capacity.
Yeah, absolutely. Great good question there, Shauna. So typically, content in business sense has two benefits. One is thought leadership, and number two is visibility. Typically, through today in the modern world, I will say more through search engines. Obviously, that is something which has been challenged by AI, but there's still a catch. Today's AI tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Bard, they're really good at doing short form content. So 300 words, 400 words, long content piece, probably easier. Anything longer than that is challenging for it because the if you look at the curve against the challenge versus words, it gets exponentially harder to write long piece of content. So what's going to happen because of that? Most likely, and what's already happening actually today is that long form content is much more valuable for visibility purposes, especially on search engines. So if your content is less than 1,000 words, I would say it'd be very hard to rank really well. Although it's still happening to some extent, it'll get harder and harder in the coming days, weeks, months. Because at that point, you require real human beings. Now,
Mm-hmm.
if you look at the research done recently, and if you look at Neil Patel, who talks about content and marketing, According to him and his research and our research as well, content which is done or written by human beings or created by human beings, augmented by AI, performs far better than just AI. I would say, and in experience, 94.1% of content produced by human beings gets ranked and found and performs better than 15% of just AI. So there is still a long way to go for you to catch up on that. Also, there is an element of perception. As human beings, we like the human touch. And so, well, AI will come and disrupt the market, but there will be a place for human to human connection because we long for that even more so. So we will want to do more in-person meetings. We want to do more in-person training, for example, because that's part of our DNA. This is how we engage with people. This is how we learn. This is how we really behave. So, yes, overall, there is a place for AI, but AI is an assistant to the master, which is in this case human beings.
Those are some amazing gold nuggets. I just want to say, because like the conceptually I have thought, you know, something I feel like, and because I action this, right? Like I'm creating captions, and I'm creating images, and I'm creating blogs, and I'm creating articles, and I'm all sorts of things. And almost every single time, um I need to, number one, do the basics, and that is actually add personality to everything that we create, because AI is a tool and a robot. It has not got a personality. And in particular, it doesn't have mind. So I need it to have that. But also, the level of um, intricate connections that can be made by the human brain for larger scale, long form pieces of content, or multiple pieces of content that fit into a larger framework, that's not able to be done yet with AI tools, at least not in a way that helps, that's productive, for lack of a better word. Like that's very poorly put, but you understand my gist. So that was gold. Just the idea of what you just put forth. But I'm digesting it now, because I'm thinking about this as a concept, and how people can actually use it as they're moving forward to make sure that they're not spinning their wheels too much and stressing about it. I feel like it comes back to just authenticity and integrity and being human. I don't know
That's
how
right.
else to say it.
That's right. And I think I was actually going to say that as the next point was that within AI, we don't want AI to have a bias, but we want the thought leaders to have a bias, that they do polarize people in the content. And I know it sounds a bit controversial, but actually, as human beings, we have a viewpoint on almost everything. You know, what flavor of ice cream do you want to have? What's a favorite movie on Netflix, for example? How you like to travel, for instance? Should we travel, for instance? I mean, all these different things, we have a bias. And in fact, that is what makes us human beings, is that having a bias towards a particular thought process. And the more we shine in that thought process, the more we will actually, bizarrely enough, rank better, uh, be viewed more, for instance. Not having a bias, just being generic, is actually not a great thing in today's economy or in content creation. Having a viewpoint, having a thought is what makes us human beings. And I think the more we can showcase that, the more we will shine.
I love that. I love that. And I want to note, just because this always comes up when somebody tells me about having a bias or a viewpoint, or a or being controversial. Oh, heaven forbid. It's something always comes up, and it tickles my fancy. So hopefully it will tickle yours and everyone else who is watching and listening. So a lot of people like to say that if you don't have a viewpoint and you're very neutral about things, you're vanilla. And I take offense to that, because I freaking love vanilla. Okay. Vanilla ice cream, vanilla cake, vanilla frosting. I am here for it. But somebody once told me that instead of saying vanilla, they say, oh, no, no, that's lettuce. Yes. it's just lettuce. Like she's not saying a salad. She's not saying anything. It's just lettuce. That right there is the gold. So what we're saying is, guys, create some long form content. Absolutely use AI to speed up the process and to get the juices flowing and to really get some things kind of developed and meted out. But then don't make it lettuce. Throw some seasoning on that and put it out into the world to get yourself seen. Share about your Barbie aspirations. Share about your absolute firm belief that we should be equal in all respects for men, women, and all people. Do that and let people be turned off by it, because the right people will be turned on by it. I love that. The future is going to be, I wanted to say scary. I'm not saying scary because I'm not going to be scared of the future. The future is going to be interesting, and we're going to have these kind of conversations as often as possible so that we can feel prepared within and about ourselves to grab it by the horns and to make the most of it. Now, with that, Raj, I want to invite you to share some final words and let people know where they can get in touch with you, because after this conversation, guys, you'd be fools not to.
Let me leave with two different thoughts actually, because I think that'd be really helpful. Firstly, we talked about vanilla. By the way, I'm somebody who loves ice cream. I'm actually lactose intolerant, but I still love my ice cream.
That's always the way
Um,
it goes.
Absolutely. But also just to mention, vanilla is also a flavor, and vanilla can be in different forms. It could be with real vanilla, it could be with vanilla essence, for example. So having a flavor, having a style is super important. That's one. Number two, in the years to come, things are going to change. But also, it is a great time to be alive. I mean, in our times, again, Sean, I don't know how old you are, but in the last 40-ish years when I've been around, I've seen the evolution from sort of TV to VCD to DVD to streaming. I've seen the fax, telex to fax to, sort of internet, and now potentially like a humane pin which can just be put over here with in AI related stuff, for example. Things are changing rapidly, but it's a time to evolve. The people who survive and thrive in this economy are people who are open to change and accept change. And the more we can change and adapt to it, we will grow faster. The day we stop adapting to change, that's the day when we will end our opportunity in the market. And by the way, this is what I talk about always. I love talking about change and innovation. I've recently written a book about AI, the AI era, which is I'm comparing industrial revolution to the current change. The whole book is only for $1 something, and the entire cash goes to a charity in India to support women empowerment. There's only a 40 pence, 40 cents charge, which goes to Amazon, so it's not going to us anyway. So the mission really is to, help people around. I do this because I feel like as we are evolving, we need to talk more about it. And there's not enough conversation happening about AI and the change. And I don't want people to be left high and dry. I want people to prepare themselves. So a lot of these talks I do, I was telling you earlier, Sean, I'm flying to Vietnam, and I'm doing that, as from goes to my heart. I don't get paid for it, but I'm doing it because I feel like there is the opportunity to change the world, and I want people to be ready for this change. So that's me. My name is Raj Goodman Anand. You can find me on LinkedIn. If you just search my name on Google or LinkedIn, you'll find me. Connect with me, drop me a line. I love to hear from people. And
I
Shona,
love
thank you
that.
very much for the opportunity.
Oh my goodness, thank you for joining me. That was amazing. And you're absolutely like a living example of, and I'm probably going to butcher this quote, but it's the one where it says, as you move forward, always look back to lend a hand. And that is what I'm seeing you do in action every single step of the way. Every time you tell me about a story about what you're doing, you're making these successful, big, long, beautiful strides forward. But every time you're looking back and seeing, who can I raise up with me? And that's what we're doing with this book as well. So definitely head over to Amazon, take a look at the AI era, and grab that so that you can help Raj with all of these ambitious movements forward and keeping everybody on the same page. Now, with that, remember to tune in every single week. We have at least one conversation with marketing rebels like Raj, and I don't want you to miss out on any of these because you got to stay in touch with all of these crazy innovations that are happening in 2024 and beyond. And we're going to be here every week of 2024 and beyond. So with that, we'll chat soon.